I want to discuss one of the forms that is a foundational form to the business that we transact in real estate, and that is the Consumer Guide to Agency Relationships. This is a form that is mandated by the state of Ohio. This is a form that you are to get signed by your potential client and or customer upon your first substantial meeting with them. What does that mean? A substantial meeting would be something like you get them into your office to do a consultation, a buyer's consultation, for instance, and at that point you would ask them to review and sign this. Another opportunity to have this form signed would be that you talk to somebody on the phone and they want you to show them a property, whether it's your property or someone else's. At that time, when you meet them at the property, you would get them to sign it. This is not a form that you should really hold on to and bring up at the very end when you're writing an offer, but if it does go down that way, you certainly need to do that prior to writing the offer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the form and a little bit about how to present it. It's a 2-page form that is to be signed by your client. You do not need to sign it. The very first paragraph is a paragraph that I would focus on, and it states that, and I will paraphrase, that we're pleased that you selected Keller Williams to help you with your real estate needs. Whether you're selling or buying or leasing, we can provide you with expertise and assistance. Because this is the largest financial transaction you will enter into, it is important to understand the role of agents and brokers with whom you are working. So let's talk about that. To me, one of the biggest things that you have going for you when you present this form is that you're talking about representation. Representation really sets you apart from a lot of the other realtors. You're either going to be representing the buyer or the seller. You will never be representing both parties with Keller Williams Greater Cleveland West. So this form talks about representing the buyers and representing the sellers. And that would drop down into the next section, which is, and I'll read the section representing buyers. The section on representing sellers, quite frankly, is exactly the same, except just substitute seller for buyer. Representing buyers. When purchasing real estate, buyers usually choose to work with a real estate agent as well. Often the buyers want to be represented in the transaction. This is referred to as buyer's agency. A brokerage and agent that agree to represent a buyer's interest in a transaction must follow the buyer's lawful instructions, be loyal to the buyer, promote the buyer's best interest, disclose material facts to the buyer, maintain confidential information, and account for any money they handle in the transaction. And as I said, the paragraph before that is representing the sellers. It's the exact same paragraph, just substitute the wording. Okay? This is a relationship that you have with your client, and this is a relationship that you should really push. It's about representation. They want to be represented. You are a professional. You can represent them. So that's the key part to the form. It really identifies who you are dealing with. If you're showing your own listing to someone like this, you're representing the seller, not the buyer, and you still need them to get to fill out the form. I can't tell you how many times I've met buyers at my listings and pulled this form out and said, hey, I'm representing the seller. This is a form that kind of acknowledges who I represent. And invariably they go, I've looked at homes with 5 other realtors in the last month, and not one agent has pulled this form out. Don't be that agent. Let's skip all the way to the very end where it states, because it is important that you have this information, Ohio law requires that we ask you to sign below to acknowledge receipt of this pamphlet. Your signature will not obligate you to work with our company if you do not choose to do so. So let's talk about that when it comes to trying to get somebody to sign it. Number one, it's a state of Ohio form. The fact that the 5 other realtors didn't present it, it's irrelevant. This is the way that it needs to be done, and I do things the right way. Secondly, if they really still push back on wanting to sign it, no problem. You don't need to sign it, sir, even though this form does not obligate you to anything. I'll just write on here that you refuse to sign it, and you can initial and date it, and I'll give you a copy of it. So you kind of have an easy out there as far as not having to get them to sign it. My suggestion is that you have several copies with you. Just give them to sign it twice, give them a copy so they walk away with it, and a copy that you have it. It is, once again, I will say, it's the first form that you really should be utilizing with people. It's a form that the earlier you introduce it, the better. And also it's a form that sets you apart as a professional because the other people just don't have the talent or the guts to really, in front of somebody the first time they meet them, to pull this form out. This business is about representation, and this form really states that. And I think it goes a long way towards setting you up for success with new people that you meet. Thank you very much.